The USDA has several major responsibilities. Through the Farm Bill, it assists farmers by providing resources such as assistance to struggling industries, disaster assistance, crop insurance, provides technical support, access to credit, and so on. So it has the role to protect the farming industry. And farm policy is supposed to help farmers recover income lost based on low crop prices. In an effort to keep production high and prices low, the U.S. government incentivizes farmers to grow certain crops. And these crops, like corn and soy, are able to be sold to other countries or be transformed into other products. Over time, subsidies have favored the growth of monoculture, that's planting just one crop on a large area of land. And as farmers grow more of these crops, prices have been driven down further and further. And food companies can then take this cheap corn and soy and create lots of inexpensive processed food products. On the other hand, the USDA oversees dietary recommendations from the Center of Nutrition Policy and Promotion, which releases dietary guidelines every 5 years. You remember the My Pyramid, then the My Plate. And the largest part of the Farm Bill, which the USDA oversees, is the SNAP program, which provides government assistance to low-income Americans. Where the USDA receives criticism is that on one hand, the USDA has to back industry growth with the farmers, and on the other, it's responsible for communicating the healthy guidelines and providing healthy food for those who need it most. This creates a tension, and many have criticized the USDA for favoring industry wishes over the health of Americans. In fact, Harvard School of Public Health came up with the healthy eating plate to be based exclusively on the best available science, not subjected to political or commercial pressures from industry lobbyists. And the Harvard Healthy Eating Plate promotes more whole grains. It says to minimize red and processed meat, which are carcinogenic. It says that potatoes shouldn't count as your vegetable for the day. It also stresses variety of fruits and vegetables. It promotes healthy fats. And it says to limit milk, not to include it. I personally think that it's done a much better job of keeping up with the research, and you can actually watch the hours and hours of lobbying from food companies trying to convince the USDA panel to prioritize their foods in the next recommendations. And by doing so, it certainly makes you appreciate what Harvard's done. But back to the farm subsidies, and criticism arises because most of the money goes towards these top 5 commodity crops, and that's corn and soybeans, wheat, cotton, and rice. And this means that the healthier fruits and vegetables, the ones that the USDA says that we should eat more of, well, those aren't subsidized as much, if at all. Also, the distribution of subsidies has favored larger corporate farms, and the argument that farmers simply need more income has been largely disproven. With greater industrialization, farmers' households are making far more than the typical household in the U.S. And there have been measures to reduce the amount of subsidies in the past few farm bills, which many believe is fortunate. Now, this is all very political, and I've talked to a few scholars in the field of public health that believe that this is very much political. In fact, that because Iowa votes first in the presidential primaries, neither party wants to be the ones who angers farm country. But the key thing to understand is that government subsidies keep production of commodity crops high and their costs low. So why do we eat so much processed food? It's cheaper, we're biologically programmed to desire them, we are largely unaware of consequences, and we often overlook long-term consequences for short-term pleasures. And also, we have barriers such as not knowing how to cook plants very well, not having time to cook, and these barriers tend to get in the way. And the overall effect of food policies can be shown through these trends in pricing. Notice the consumer price index in gray. That means that everything got more expensive over time. But then look at how sugar and sweets and carbonated drinks didn't get as expensive. They got relatively cheaper. On the other hand, fresh fruits and vegetables have gotten more and more expensive, and this, of course, reduces the practicality of behavioral change.